বাহ, খুব ভালো, ভালো তো। তোর তো লেখা উচিত, তোর ওরই তো সাবজেক্ট এখন। যাক, ভালো আছে। আর ওর কাজকর্মে কেমন রেজাল্ট কেমন এসছে এখন অব্দি? সব মোটামুটি ভালো এসছে?
পার্থদা, আমার শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, শোনা যাচ্ছে ক্লিয়ার।
বেশ, দেখাও যাচ্ছে, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই তো?
না না, ক্লিয়ার দেখা যাচ্ছে। পার্থ স্যার, আপনার মিউট করা আছে, অন করে নিন। এবার কথা বলুন।
এবার শোনা যাবে।
পার্থদাকে আজ প্রথম দেখলাম।
তাই না? চাক্ষুষ সাক্ষাৎ হয়নি।
চাক্ষুষ সাক্ষাৎ কবে হবে জানি না।
আমি একটা সুন্দর ছবি দেখেছি দেবদোষ ঘুরে, ডাউনলোড করে লাগিয়েছি, লাগিয়ে ভাবছি এরকম সুপুরুষ একজন মানুষ, সুদর্শন এবং তেমনি গুণী। তো
আর
আজকে একটা ঘটনা ঘটেছে যে আমাদের ডক্টর বলরাম, ওনার কম্পিউটার ঘাটাঘাটি করতে একটু অসুবিধা হয়ে গেছে, ওনার ইন্টারনেট উনি ম্যানেজ করতে পারছেন না, কিছু একটা অসুবিধা হয়েছে। তো আমাকে বললেন যে আমি তো পারবো না করতে। আমি বললাম তাহলে খুব ভালো লোক, এত মানে সাচ এ ডিসেন্ট পার্সন, এত হিউমিলিটি। তাই বললাম যে স্যার তাহলে বলেন তাহলে আপনি যেদিন বলবেন সেদিনই বলবো, আর আমি ভয়েস রেকর্ড করে নিয়ে আপনি লোককে শুনিয়ে দিন যে আমি আটকে গেছি, পারছি না। এসব দরকার নেই, আপনি আরেকদিন বলে দেবেন, আমরা আজকে আমাদের প্রোগ্রাম করে নেব। তার মধ্যে আমাদের তো ডক্টর গুহ তো আছেনই, তো ডক্টর গুহকে একটু বললাম যে আপনি একটু মানে মনটা খুলে একটু বলবেন, আটকে যাওয়ার ব্যাপার নেই, 20 মিনিট একটু বাড়িয়ে দেবেন। আর এদিকে আমার ডক্টর গাঙ্গুলি, আমাদের যিনি অর্গানাইজিং প্রেসিডেন্ট আর কি, খুব ভালো বলেন এবং খুব জ্ঞানী মানুষ, এবং 19 শতকের বাংলা সম্বন্ধে উনার যা জ্ঞান, বাঙালি মনীষীদের সম্বন্ধে খুবই সাংঘাতিক।
আচ্ছা।
তো ধীমানদা আচার্য প্রফুল্ল চন্দ্র রায় সম্বন্ধে প্রচুর পড়াশোনা করেছেন রিসেন্টলি। তো এটা কোইন্সিডেন্টাল। আমি ধীমানদাকে বললাম, ধীমানদা এরকম একটা পরিস্থিতি হয়েছে। তো ধীমানদা বললেন কোনো ব্যাপার না, আমি তো আচার্য প্রফুল্ল চন্দ্র রায় নিয়ে সেদিন পড়াশোনা করলাম, আমি 15 মিনিট
বলবো। বেশ দারুণ দারুণ
হয়ে গেল। আর আমি ভেবেছিলাম আমি একদম খুব ঝড়ের গতিতে ঝটিকা সফর করে দেবো। আমি বললাম না, আমি একটু হালকা হয়ে যাবো,
একটু রয়েছে বলা যাবে,
বলবো তাহলে আমি আরো ওখানে 5 মিনিট সময় নিয়ে নেবো। এই সব শুদ্ধ ম্যানেজ হয়ে যাবে,
ভালো হবে। হ্যাঁ,
মনে হচ্ছে ম্যানেজ হয়ে যাবে। এক সেকেন্ড। হ্যালো, এই রাত 10টার পরে ফোন করুন, আমি না একটা মিটিং আছে, রাত্রি 10টার পরে করুন।
আমি একটু কন্ট্রোলটা দেখে নিচ্ছি, যিনি হেল্প করছেন কন্ট্রোলে, আমাকে একটু বলে দেবেন আমি স্লাইড শোটা কি করে দেখবো একটু।
ধীমানদাকে আসতে বলি। এই কৌশিক, ধীমানদাকে ঢোকাও লাইনে, 15 মিনিট বাকি।
কন্ট্রোল করছেন কে? কৌশিক?
হ্যাঁ কৌশিক।
স্যার ধীমান স্যার এখনো ঢোকেননি।
হ্যাঁ, আমি ধীমানদাকে বলছি।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, আমাকে একটু প্রেজেন্টেশন মোডটা কোনখান থেকে আমি যাবো একটু দেখিয়ে দেবেন
স্যার। একদম মাউস পয়েন্ট, আপনি ল্যাপটপে আছেন তো?
না, আমি ডেস্কটপে।
আচ্ছা,
এই প্ল্যাটফর্মটাতে কয়েকটা জিনিস আমি একটু অর্গানাইজ করছি।
আমিও খুব একটা সরগরম নই এতে।
হ্যাঁ, এটা জুমে আমি খুব সরগরম নই। ওয়েবএক্স, গুগল, ঠিক আছে।
শেয়ার স্ক্রিন, ওইখানে
আচ্ছা, শেয়ার স্ক্রিনে গিয়ে করব, রাইট?
শেয়ার স্ক্রিনে গিয়ে ক্লিক করলে
আচ্ছা, আমার অনেকগুলো, হ্যাঁ আমি বুঝতে পেরেছি। ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে।
স্যার একবার অন করে দেখে নিতে পারেন, আপনার স্লাইডটা দিয়ে দেখে নিতে পারেন।
আমি এক্ষুনি দেখে নিচ্ছি, আমি এক্ষুনি দেখে নিচ্ছি।
স্যার ধীমান স্যার জয়েন করে গেছেন।
আচ্ছা, অলরেডি 19 জন পার্টিসিপেন্ট ঢুকে গেছে।
হ্যাঁ স্যার,
হ্যাঁ
স্যার 20 জন হয়ে গেছে।
আমাদের মিটিং এর টান দেখেছো, 15 মিনিট আগে 20 জন ঢুকে বসে
20 জন ঢুকে।
তাহলে যখন সময় হবে তখন 200 জন হয়ে যাবে। ওরা আমাদের দেখতে পাচ্ছেন তো, আমাদের কথা শুনতে পাচ্ছেন নাকি?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
আচ্ছা, আমি এখন আর ফুল স্ক্রিন মোডে যেতে পারছি না কেন, কি হলো দেখছি।
স্যার শেয়ার স্ক্রিনে গেছেন?
ও বাবা, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ আসছি আমি শেয়ার স্ক্রিনে এইবার।
হ্যাঁ স্যার, আপনার স্লাইড দেখা যাচ্ছে।
আমার সাথে দেখা যাচ্ছে
একদম, আপনি ওটা স্লাইড শোতে দিয়ে দেবেন, ফুল স্ক্রিন এসে যাবে, একদম পরিষ্কার এসে গেছে।
আপনি দেখে নিচ্ছেন, বেশ পারফেক্ট। ঠিক আছে, আমি তাহলে এখান থেকে বেরিয়ে যাই। আমার এবার ছোট্ট আরেকটা হেল্প চাই, সেটা হচ্ছে আমার মাইক্রোফোন আর স্পিকারটাকে আমি আলাদা করতে চাইছি। আমি কানে দিয়ে বেশিক্ষণ কান গরম হয়ে যায়। আমি স্পিকার এবং আমার সেই সিস্টেম করা আছে, কিন্তু ও নিচ্ছে না।
স্যার সেটা তো সিস্টেম না দেখলে বুঝতে পারবো না এখান থেকে।
না না, আমি করে নেব, আমি দেখে নিচ্ছি একটু। কিন্তু বারবার এটাকে ফুল স্ক্রিন করতে গেলে খুব মুশকিল হচ্ছে তো।
শুভব্রত বলো।
এই তো কোথাও বেরোচ্ছে না।
হ্যালো পার্থ, আমি কি অডিবল হচ্ছি?
স্যার পরিষ্কার শোনা যাচ্ছে।
শোনা যাচ্ছে?
বাহ, ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে।
হ্যাঁ ভালো।
ঢুকেছে, আরো 2 জন করবে।
আচ্ছা, স্ক্রিন শেয়ারিংটা স্টপ করে নিতে হলো, বেশ। আচ্ছা, আমি স্ক্রিন শেয়ারিংটা বন্ধ করে নিলাম, কিন্তু আমি এখন আর কাউকে দেখতে পাচ্ছি না। তার কারণ আবার কি করতে হবে?
স্ক্রিন শেয়ারিং বন্ধ করে আমি কিন্তু দেখতে পাচ্ছি।
হ্যাঁ, আমি তো বুঝতে পারছি, কেননা আমার এদিকে সবই খোলা আছে, কিন্তু আমি এটা।
ডক্টর গাঙ্গুলিকে দেখতে পাচ্ছেন?
না, আমি আপনাকে শুধু দেখতে পাচ্ছি।
ওই ওপরে কোনায় ধীমানদা জয়েন করেছেন, ডক্টর ধীমান গাঙ্গুলি। ধীমানদা উনি রক্ত দেবতা, আপনি দেখতে পাচ্ছেন?
হ্যাঁ আমি তো ওনাকে দেখতে পাচ্ছি।
ও, কিন্তু স্যার আমি আপনাকে আমি জানি না কোন মোডে গেলে পরে দেখা যাবে।
স্যার আমরা সবাই দেখতে পাচ্ছি আপনাকে।
হ্যাঁ, কিন্তু আমি কোথায় আছি?
আপনি স্টপ শেয়ারিং করে পাওয়ার পয়েন্টটা মিনিমাইজ করে দিন।
করে দিয়েছি।
পাওয়ার পয়েন্টটাকে মিনিমাইজ করে দিন, ঠিক।
দিয়ে নিচে দেখুন জুমের একটা ব্লু কালারের ক্যামেরা আইকন আসছে, ওটায় ক্লিক করে নিন।
জুমের, হ্যাঁ করে।
জুমটা মিনিমাইজ হয়ে গেছে।
হ্যাঁ, না আমার এখান থেকে না ওই জুমের যে আইকনটা আসছে সেটা দিলে পরে, হ্যাঁ এইবার এলো, কিন্তু আমার কাছে ভিজিবল হচ্ছে না, কেন আমি জানি না। স্ক্রিনটা ভিজিবল হলো, কিন্তু আমি কাউকে আর দেখতে পাচ্ছি না।
আপনাকে দেখাচ্ছি, আপনার গলাও দেখতে পাচ্ছি, কোনো প্রবলেম নেই।
হ্যাঁ, কিন্তু আমি পাচ্ছি না, বুঝতে পারছি। আমি বুঝতে পারছি। আমি স্ক্রিনটা আমি শুধু শুধু কৌশিক ধর লেখা একটা বড় ইয়ে আসছে, স্ক্রিন আসছে।
আমাকেও দেখা যাচ্ছে না এখন আর।
না, কেন দেখা যাচ্ছে না বলুন তো?
জানি না, কৌশিক কি
হ্যাঁ,
বলো।
একটা কিছু সমস্যা হয়েছে।
স্যার আপনি ওটা পুরো মিনিমাইজ করে ফেলেছেন, ওই জন্য দেখা যাচ্ছে না, ভিউটা চেঞ্জ হয়ে গেছে।
বড্ড খটমটো ব্যাপার, আমি দেখছি। আচ্ছা,
এবার আপনিও মানে অন্ধকারে চলে গেলেন।
হ্যাঁ, আমি কিছুক্ষণ অফ করে রাখলাম একটু ব্যান্ডউইডথ বাঁচাবার জন্য, যে ডেটা খানিকটা আমি এবার কেরামতি করে দেখে নিয়ে আমি ঢুকতে পারছি কিনা।
আচ্ছা কৌশিক, আমি একবার আপলোড টেস্ট করব এই ফাঁকে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, হ্যাঁ করে নিন, করে নিন।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে।
আচ্ছা, আমার এবং ডক্টর গাঙ্গুলির অ্যাব্রিভিয়েশনটা একই রকম, ডিজিআর।
আর দেবাশিস ভট্টাচার্য ঢুকে গেলেই।
হ্যাঁ
স্যার আমি এখন আপনাকে দেখতে পেলাম না, কারণ ইয়ে নেই আমার কাছে, ভিডিওটা অন হচ্ছে না। আমি একটু চেষ্টা করছি।
কৌশিক আমারটা দেখা যাচ্ছে না?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, শেয়ার করুন।
শেয়ার তো করলাম। আচ্ছা শেয়ার করতে হবে।
আমি বেরিয়ে গিয়ে,
এই তো
আলো জ্বলছে প্রদীপ?
না, 1 মিনিট। হ্যাঁ এবার এসে গেছে।
এই তো আলো জ্বলছে।
এইবার আমারও এলো। বাবা
খুব ভালো, এই আলো জ্বলেছে না বললাম।
আলো জ্বলেছে। হ্যাঁ
ওই আলোটার অপেক্ষাতেই ছিল না।
হ্যাঁ সব আলোতেই সব।
ব্যাস এইবার ঠিক এসছে। হ্যাঁ
তাহলে কৌশিক না এই স্লাইডটা কিন্তু লাগিয়ে রাখবে, এই ওয়েলকাম টু।
স্যার আপনি এটা ফুল স্ক্রিন করে দিন।
হ্যাঁ, এটা ফুল
শুরু হবে,
করে দিলেই হবে।
এটা থেকেই শুরু হবে, ঠিক আছে?
হ্যাঁ আপনি এটা স্লাইড শোতে রেখে দিন।
আমি তাহলে ফুল স্ক্রিন করে দিই।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ করে দিন, করে দিন।
কিন্তু আমি তো ডক্টর গুহকে দেখতে পাচ্ছি না, সাইডে যে বার আছে তার মধ্যে ডক্টর গাঙ্গুলিকে দেখতে পাচ্ছি।
স্যার আপনি এটা ফুল স্ক্রিন করুন, স্ক্রিনে।
এবার দেখতে পেয়েছি, এবার
আমার
এসে
ভিডিও
গেছে।
এসছে তো।
ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে।
আচ্ছা, আমি কিন্তু ভিডিওগুলো দেখতে পাচ্ছি না, কেন সেটা আমি বুঝতে পারছি না। পার্টিসিপেন্ট লিস্টটা দেখতে পাচ্ছি।
ব্যাস এতেই হবে, সবাই দেখতে পাচ্ছে ডক্টর দেব।
হ্যাঁ ব্যাস লিস্টটা এসছে, ঠিক আছে, এতেই হবে।
আজকে আমরা তিনজনই কিন্তু খুশি লব, আর লাস্ট অবধি ডক্টর গুহকে থাকতে হচ্ছে, এবং আমাদের ইনঅগ্রেশনে গেস্ট অফ অনার হিসেবে 2-4 কথা বলতে হবে।
আমি আছি।
ঠিক আছে। আর কত সময় আছে?
আমার ভিডিওটা অন আছে, তাই তো? দেখা যাচ্ছে।
আপনাকেও দেখতে পাচ্ছি আর গল্প শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
হ্যাঁ কিন্তু আমি না,
একটু আপনার কেটে কেটে গেল কেন? আপনি আরেকবার কথা বলুন তো।
একটু কথা একটু
আপনাকে
কেটে
তো বলতে
যাচ্ছে।
হবে, আপনাকে তো আমরা শুনবো।
আমার কথা কেটে গেল?
না না, পারফেক্ট। আমি
এখন পারফেক্ট, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই।
এবার ধীমান ঠিক আছে।
ও মাঝে অল্প একটু হয়ে যায়।
হ্যাঁ না হচ্ছে, কথা কাটছে।
আপনার কথাটা ধীমানদা একটু কেটে কেটে যাচ্ছে, মাঝে মাঝে
জড়িয়ে যাচ্ছে।
আর
ধীমানদা আপনি কি ল্যাপটপে না মোবাইলে?
আমি মোবাইলে।
আচ্ছা, মোবাইলটা একটা বই টই কিছুর উপর সেট করে দিয়ে না নড়ে আমার মনে হয়, তাহলে আপনার শব্দটা ইয়েটা কমে যাবে, চান্সটা। হাতে রাখলে হয়তো অনেক সময় একটু ডিস্টার্ব করে।
বইয়ের উপর রাখবো?
হ্যাঁ কৌশিক, বইয়ের উপর রাখা যাবে তো?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ রাখুন না, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই।
মানে এমন ভাবে রাখা যাতে ওটা না নড়ে আর কি।
স্যার খেয়াল রাখবেন, যদি
বুঝতে পেরেছি
স্যার, যদি মোবাইলের তলার দিকে স্পিকার থাকে তাহলে একটু ফাঁক করে রাখবেন, নাহলে ভয়েসটা কাটা কাটা শোনাবে।
না ধীমানদা একটু কথা বলুন, তাহলে বুঝতে পারবো কেমন শোনা যাচ্ছে।
এইবারে কেমন শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ পরিষ্কার শোনা যাচ্ছে, একদম পরিষ্কার।
তাহলে ঠিক এই পজিশনেই রাখবো।
হ্যাঁ
হ্যাঁ একটু স্যার কথা বলার সময় এগিয়ে এলে একটু ভালো হয়।
আপনি একটু এগিয়ে এলে ভালো
আপনার
হয়।
ছবিটা বড্ড ছোট লাগছে।
আপনার মুখটা এক তলার
ও
দিকে।
আচ্ছা, এবারে ঠিক আছে?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
হ্যাঁ দীপঙ্কর, হ্যালো। এই তো পালমোকন শুরু করছে, কদিন ধরে তোমাকে
ঠিক আছে, এইরকম
করবে কিনা।
তো আমি হ্যাঁ, আর আমি ভাবছি যে কি হলো, ছেলেটার সাথে যোগাযোগ নেই, কদিন ধরে কোনো কথা নেই, আমরা কি করব এই পালমোকনে। ভাবছি কতটুকু বলবো, একটু চিন্তা করছি, কারণ আমার আর কথা হয়নি, এখনো ওর টেবিলে এসছে। তো আমি জাস্ট ভাবছি একটু ডিক্লেয়ার করে দেবো আমরা কিছু কাজ করছি, আর যদি এর মধ্যে কালকে রিটারকে কথা বলবো, যদি বেরোয় তাহলে সামনে শনিবারের স্ট্র্যাটেজিটা আমি তোমার সাথে কথা বলবো। ভালো আছে?
আমার ক্যামেরা পাবো না।
এই 2-3 দিন ধরে তো এইটা নিয়েই ব্যস্ত, আর মাঝখানে একদিন তুমি ফোন করেছিলে ইমেল করার পরে, তারপর তুমি, আমি তোমার ধরতে ধরতে কেটে গেল, তারপর আবার সেই ব্যাটা সব অরিজিতের কাছে চলে যাচ্ছে, মহা মুশকিল, আমি আর যোগাযোগ করতে পারছি না। কিন্তু আমি হরজিৎ, তোমার সাথে কথা হয়নি তারপর? না না, তারপর আর কথা হয়নি, গত 2-3 দিন ধরে আর কথা হয়নি। আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, আমি এই তো রাত্রিবেলা ধরে নাও এই 9টা নাগাদ ফ্রি হয়ে যাবো। ঠিক আছে, হ্যাঁ বুঝতে পেরেছি। হ্যাঁ না, তারপরে একদিন তুমি ফোন করেছিলে। ঠিক আছে, এখন আমরা ঢুকে যাচ্ছি ওখানে। এই তো এই আমাদের এই পালমোকন শুরু হয়ে যাবে 2-3 মিনিটের মধ্যে। হ্যাঁ, সন্ধ্যে 7টা থেকে তোমায় লিঙ্ক পাঠিয়েছি। থ্যাংক ইউ, তুমি লিঙ্কে চল। এটা প্রত্যেক সানডে এবার 7টা করে, সন্ধ্যে 7টা থেকে 9টা প্রত্যেক সানডে চলতে থাকবে। আজকে ডক্টর পি বলরাম, উনি লাস্ট মোমেন্টে ওনার ইন্টারনেটে গন্ডগোল করছে, আর আমাদের ডক্টর দেবতোষ গুহ বলে কলকাতা ইউনিভার্সিটি, খুব বড় ইনোভেটর, প্রফেসর অফ রেডিও ফিজিক্স। ঠিক আছে, তুমি পারলে থেকো। আচ্ছা, আর আমাদের ধীমানদা তো আছেনি, ডক্টর ধীমান গাঙ্গুলি, উনি খুব ভালো বলেন আচার্য প্রফুল্লচন্দ্র রায় সম্বন্ধে নতুন নতুন কথা বলবেন। ঠিক আছে, ওকে ওকে, বাই, রাখছি। আর 5 মিনিট আছে। ধীমানদা শুনতে পাচ্ছেন আমাকে?
হ্যাঁ, তোমার দেখতেও পাচ্ছি, শুনতেও পাচ্ছি।
ও আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, আমি আবার এদিকে ফোন করছি, আমার এক বৈজ্ঞানিক বন্ধু ফোন করেছে। আপনি বলার পরে আজ নতুন কথা শুনবো। ডক্টর শ্যামল রায় বলে একজন আছেন আমাদের ইয়েতে, ধীমানদা, খুব মানে পণ্ডিত মানুষ। তো আজকে উনি আমাকে ফোন করেছিলেন। তো
আচ্ছা,
আমি বললাম এই তো পালমোকন বলে লিঙ্ক পেয়েছি। তারপরে উনি কোন একটা মানে ভ্যান গগের কোন একটা ছবির সাথে কি তুলনা করলেন, আমি অত বুঝলাম না। তারপর ভ্যান গগ না অন্য কারো ছবি, যাই হোক। তারপরে যেটা বললেন, যে যেটা খুব ভালো লাগলো আমার শুনে, সেটা হচ্ছে এই কোভিডে যে আমরা নেগেটিভিটির মধ্যে কোনটা পজিটিভিটি, সেটা নিয়ে উনি কোথায় একটা টক দিয়েছেন। আমি বললাম যে স্যার, এরকম একটা টক যদি আমাদের দেন আপনি। তুমি বললেন আমি নিশ্চয়ই দেবো, আপনি আমাকে বলবেন। তো উনি বলতে চাইছেন যে এই মানে এই মানে এটা একটা সিভিলাইজেশনের কাছে চ্যালেঞ্জ, এবং এটা ওভারকাম করার মধ্যে দিয়ে সিভিলাইজেশন অনেক কিছু শিখে যাবে, অনেক কিছু হবে। তো সেটা আমরাও বুঝি যে কিছু হবে, কিন্তু ওরা তো পণ্ডিত লোক, কিভাবে হবে না হবে হয়তো কিছু অ্যানালাইসিস করেছেন। তো এসব শুনে ভালো লাগলো। এই একটু আগে কথা বলছিলাম, তা আমি বললাম যে আপনি কথা বলবেন, তা আপনার কথা উনি জানেন। তারপরে বললেন যে আচ্ছা, তারপরে ধীমানদার আচার্য প্রফুল্লচন্দ্র রায় সম্বন্ধে বলবেন। তো আমি তো নিশ্চয়ই থাকবো তাহলে। আজকে আপনার শ্রোতার মধ্যে
আর বলো কেন, আমার তো কোনো বিদ্যেই কাজে লাগছে না।
কোথায় কি কাজে লাগে কেউ জানে না, আমরা কেন যে আছি সেটাই কি জানি? এই আছি
এত বিদ্যে বোঝাই মশাই, কোন বিদ্যেই কাজে লাগবে না।
কাজে লাগবে না, যখন লাগার কিছুই হবে না। ওই একটা গান আছে না রবীন্দ্রনাথ ঠাকুরের, আছি আছি নাই রে,
হ্যাঁ,
আমার মনের কোণের বাইরে আমি জানলা খুলে কি মানে ক্ষণে ক্ষণে চাই রে। আমাদের অবস্থা কি, আমরা আছি আছি মানে মনে হচ্ছে খুব একটা কিছু করছি, তারপরে কিছু না, সব ফালতু ব্যাপার। আর 3 মিনিট আছে, 3 মিনিট। ডক্টর গুহ একদম চুপচাপ শুনছেন আমাদের কথা। এই রেডিও ফিজিক্স ডিপার্টমেন্ট
মুখোমুখি দেখা না হলে আর কাজ হয়?
মুখোমুখি কথা না হলে সেই আনন্দ হয় না তোমাদের?
না না,
ও যে যাই বলুক, আমার মনে হয় না ভিডিওতে ও সেইটা আসে।
মানুষের মুখ না দেখলে কিছু হয় না।
আর আপনার কি বলে, ওদের ডিপার্টমেন্টটা খুব নাম করা। আপনার এই রেডিও ফিজিক্স ডিপার্টমেন্ট ক্যালকাটা ইউনিভার্সিটি কিন্তু অনেক বড় বড় লোক ছিলেন হয়তো আগে, খুব নাম করা ডিপার্টমেন্ট, তাই না? এই আপনার ফোন এসে গেছে। হ্যালো, হ্যাঁ আচ্ছা, কৌশিককে ফোন করুন, আমি কৌশিকের নম্বর দিয়ে দিচ্ছি। আছে কৌশিকের নম্বর? আচ্ছা, আমি কৌশিককে ফোন দিচ্ছি, ওই কৌশিক করে দেবে।
স্যার কি হলো বলুন?
এই কৌশিক, ডক্টর গুহ বেরিয়ে ঢুকতে পারছে না।
ডাক্তার গুহ বেরিয়ে ঢুকতে পারছেন না?
ওনার ইমেল অ্যাড্রেস তো আছে, তুমি ওই ইমেল অ্যাড্রেসটাকে করে নাও। তুমি ওনার ফোন নাম্বারটা তুমি নাও তো, তুমি ওনার ফোন নাম্বারটা নাও। ওনার ফোন নাম্বারটা হচ্ছে 8910269258।
স্যার এক মিনিট, 8910
269258।
269858
9258
9258
ঠিক আছে, আমি তোমাকে ওনার নাম্বারটা পাঠিয়ে দিচ্ছি।
দেবাশিস গুহ, তাই তো? হ্যাঁ,
দেবতোষ গুহ।
দেবতোষ গুহ, ওকে।
ও দেবতোষ গুহ বেরিয়ে গিয়ে আর ঢুকতে পারছে না, কি কাণ্ড।
স্যার ওনাকে সাইন ইন করতে বলুন, উনি সাইন আউট হয়ে গেছেন।
তুমি একটা ফোন করে যাওয়া বলো, তুমি আমি ঢুকে যাচ্ছি, আমি মিটিং এ। নাম্বারটা তোমার পাঠিয়ে দিচ্ছি, 49 বাজে। কতজন লোক ঢুকেছে এখন সেটা তো বুঝতে পারছি না।
স্যার 46 জন।
ঠিক আছে, ধীমানদা আমি শুরু করে দিলাম।
হ্যাঁ করো।
আচ্ছা, না বড় ফার্স্ট স্লাইডে চলে যাই।
স্যার কৌশিক বলছি, বলুন।
কৌশিক তোমার কথা শোনা যাচ্ছে, আমি very good evening. Welcome to Pulmocon 2020. I am Dr. Partho Sharathi Bhattacharjee, the organizing secretary of this conference. Along with me, we have Dr. Dhiman Ganguly, who is the organizing president. Let me speak a few things about the institute at the outset. This conference is organized by Institute of Pulmocare and Research. The institute was born in 2008 as a non-profit organization with a motto of research, education, and patient care. For over last 10 years, it has been a SIRO, or the Scientific Industrial Research Organization, been recognized by the Government of India, Department of Science and Technology. It has been trying to fulfill its motto as best as possible with innovations, research, benevolence, human resource development activities, and others. I am not going to bother you with a list of our activities, but we always try to do something in a different way, not copying anybody. And we have touched almost all the pulmonary problems in our own style. So if you are interested, you are welcome to visit our website as pulmocareindia.org. Now let me speak a few words about our conference, the Pulmocon. It's our annual academic conference, and it has started 18 years ago. And this Pulmocon is the 18th Pulmocon in a row. Many national and international faculties have graced us. It has got several unique features. Each year we do this conference on focused areas, but because of COVID, here we have to make it on virtual platform, and we have divided the whole conference into multiple modules, which will be held on every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. These modules will consist of telemedicine, COVID, COPD, asthma, DPLD, so on and so forth. But today we have got two special features. One is Professor S.N. De Memorial Oration, and the other is Acharya Prafullo Chandra Roy Memorial Award. This is a photograph of late Dr. S.N. De, and this is the 12th Memorial Oration as a tribute to this great scientist. I cannot check myself, but to say a few words about him. Dr. De was born at Godbati, Budoshiptala, Hooghly. His childhood was spent in economic constraints. He was a brilliant student. He got scholarship, but he could not have pursued his medical career unless a benevolent donor supported him. In 1939, he passed out MBBS, and in 1942, he acquired the diploma in tropical medicine. Thereafter, he joined the pathology department of Calcutta Medical College and then went to England for further studies. He did his PhD under Professor Roy Cameron in 1949 in physiology. And then after returning to country, to the country, he joined his own department of pathology in Calcutta Medical College. Subsequently, he worked in NRS Medical College also, and also in Bose Institute. He worked in Bose Institute especially after his retirement. Dr. S.N. De is an ignored and unsung hero in our scientific community. He was nominated twice for Nobel Prize, but we didn't know his name. He died, he retired in 1973. He was nominated for Nobel Prize in 1978 onwards. And in 1978, he presented his note at Nobel Foundation. In 1985, he passed away. But he was brought into limelight in 1986 by a former editor of the current content and citation index of a famous journal, who was looking for the number of citations against each author. And he found that one article published in 1953 by Dr. De was quoted 370 plus times at that point of time, means in 1986. So thus attention was focused upon him and he came to limelight. His story started once he returned from England. In those days, cholera was an endemic disease. He used to, sort of cleanse people from villages from one village, another village to another village. And he thought that he should take note of cholera and dedicate for cholera research. He started in a very humble way with hardly any sophisticated instrument, but he made very important, innovative discovery that cholera is caused by a toxin, not by the bacteria itself. Prior to his discovery, the bacterial origin of a disease was framed according to Koch's postulation. Robert Koch was a great scientist, a microbiologist from Germany. He was also interested for cholera. He came to Alexandria to do research on cholera. By then it subsided out there. He came to Kolkata in 1882 and worked here for some time, for a year or two, but he couldn't do much headway. So he went back. And after that, nobody took attention about cholera till Professor Shomunath De. Professor De made a unique experiment with ideal loops of guinea pigs. In cholera, what happens? People have intractable diarrhea. There is loss of fluid from the body gets dried up. We call it dehydration. And the people mostly dry out of dehydration. Dr. De found that he thought that this diarrhea is not because of the bacteria. It is because of some secretion by the bacteria or toxin by the bacteria. And he proved this in his rabbit ileal loop. What he did is he injected the cell-free culture filtrate into the ileal loop and found that the loop's been swollen with fluid exudation inside. And this was a fundamental of his research. Later, he went on finding a lot of other things, but because of logistics, he couldn't do. He didn't get any support. One of the instruments for that time, it was a deep fridge. It was that he brought from abroad. It was stuck at Calcutta port. It was not released. A lot of things happened. After retirement, he had a very humble life. He led a life of a simple pathologist, looking at the microscope for total count, differential count, bacterial presence in several samples, etc., and passed his life. Later part of the life, we do not know much about it. I'm very happy today. I have Mr. Shyamul, his son, online watching us. He has been our guest all along in all these orations. And more than that, I'm happy today that Professor P. Balaram has agreed to give us the oration. Let me tell you that Dr. Balaram told me today, he just called a few hours ago, that his internet is not working. And he apologistically said that I'm an old man. I cannot make it possible today. I will do the oration at any day you wish, but I am very sorry. I was touched by his humility and the way he talked. I said, it's all right, sir, there's no problem. give us your oration any day you like, but we will confer the award to you today. So before conferring the award, it is my duty to speak a few words about him. He is the right person to talk about Dr. Shambhunath De. I wasn't prepared to say anything about Dr. De because I felt the person who made the Indian scientists aware about Shambhunath De is Dr. Padmanabhan Balaram. Dr. Balaram, he made a special issue of Current Sciences. He was editor to that journal at that point of time, and rest of the community in India could come across Professor Shambhunath De. Dr. Balaram happened to be expert in research about peptides. Is a structural biologist. He did his BSc in chemistry from Ferguson College, Pune, and masters from IIT Kanpur. Then he left for US to do his PhD from Carnegie Mellon University, Pittsburgh. And there he worked with the Nobel laureate, Robert Byrne Woodward. And during that time, he was instrumental in synthesizing erythromycin. Returning to India, he joined the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, in the Department of Biophysics. And later, the rest of the career, he stayed there and he retired as the director of the institute in 2013. His area of research includes structure, conformation, and biological activities of designated and natural peptides. He has been regarded as a master and as a global master on different technologies like NMR spectroscopy, infrared spectroscopy, X-ray crystallography, etc., that reads the protein structure, its folding, its laying, etc. And he has got plenty of students all across the country and the globe. He has over 580 publications, and he has been quoted more than 17,000 times. He has a tremendous editorial experience. He happened to be in the editorial board of many important journals, of which I just like to mention only one, that's the Current Science, where he was the chief editor from 1995 till 2013. And his editorials were excellent. They have been remembered by a lot of scientists even today. Only recently I read one editorial, one article by him. It was an excellent literary piece. He received several awards. I will just mention quite a few, like the World Academy of Science Award, the Padma Bhushan Award, the Padma Award in 2016. And he also remained a member of the National Knowledge Commission of India for a good length of time. And I looked at internet for his talks. His oratory skill is tremendous, superb. And more than that, he speaks with such a humility that it will touch everybody. It's my pleasure, my privilege, and my delightment that he agreed to me. He responded to my first email and said, I will do it. And he gave the topic, how did I discover Professor S.N. De? And I felt that once he has said he will elaborate his discovery, there's no need of talking about Professor De to this audience. But since he is not able to come today, I had given a brief review of Dr. Professor De till now. So with this, I request our organizing secretary, Dr. Dhiman Ganguly, to confer this oration virtually to Professor S.N. De. Dr. Ganguly, please.
Thank you, Arthur. It gives me a great pleasure, I would say, to confer the orational award to Dr. Professor Padmanabhan Balaram this year for 2020 as the S.N. De Memorial Oration. Unfortunately, he couldn't deliver the talk today. I'm sure he will do it in some other occasion in one of those Sun meetings. And I'm sure the institute will arrange to send this memento and the citation to his address anytime soon. It's really unfortunate that we couldn't hear him today on this meeting on the first day, but it doesn't matter. I'm sure we will be able to listen to his S.N. De Memorial Oration sometime in some of the other Sunday evening meetings that we are going to have for the next 2 or 3 months. It's unfortunate that we couldn't meet personally. It's a pleasure always to meet such luminaries personally. It's an educational experience for all of us. Just listening to the lecture is not enough. Knowing the person face to face, it gives us, all of us, a great pleasure. But unfortunate that couldn't be done. But hopefully sometime in future we'll be able to meet him person. Over to you, Partho.
Thank you, sir. Now the blame is to COVID. We can't get him personally, and to the technology that has debarred him from giving the talk today. But nevertheless, we are not going to be deprived today, because along with us, we have got Dr. Devotesh Guho, who is going to give us a talk on igniting innovations in young mind. Before I move on to that, let me request Dr. Ganguly again to introduce our 11th Acharya Prafulla Chandra Rai Memorial Award. Dr. Ganguly will now give a brief review of Dr. Acharya Prafulla Chandra Rai. Following that, I will take up the issue again.
It's always a pleasure to talk about Acharya Prafulla Chandra Rai. You see, 19th century Bengal is a surprise, is considered to be a surprise all over the world. How can a small geographical area like undivided Bengal produce so much of talent in the course of a century? You see, to give you some examples, Radhanath Sikdar was born in 1816. He is probably the first mathematician of note in all over India. We all know him because we know that he could measure the height of Mount Everest. But apart from that, he was a wonderful mathematician, was a first-class mathematician for his age. Then followed by that, we had Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar in 1820, Michael Madhusudan in 1824, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay in 1836, Acharya Jagadish Chandra in 1858, Rabindranath Tagore in 1861, Acharya Prafulla Chandra Rai in 1861, and to end the century, we had Meghnad Shah, Satyen Bose, Subhash Chandra Bose. I must have missed another dozen of luminaries that were produced in Bengal, in undivided Bengal in that century. So to come back to Acharya Prafulla Chandra Rai, he was born in 1861 on 2nd of August. By age, he was only 3 months younger to Rabindranath Tagore. He had his early education in his native village in Khulna district in undivided Bengal. The name of his village was Raluli. Then he had his education in Hare School in Kolkata, Metropolitan College, founded by Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. And then, to a real surprise, he won the Gilchrist Scholarship. You know, Gilchrist Scholarship in those days was given every year to Indian boys who could satisfy the examiners on a very strict examination. They had to appear in Latin, in German, Sanskrit, and whole lot of subjects. Acharya Prafulla Chandra Rai learned Latin on his own effort. He had nobody to teach him. And he is probably the second Bengali to win the Gilchrist Prize. Incidentally, the first Gilchrist Prize was won by another Bengali named Pramothonath Bosu. He was the first geologist and mining expert in India. Pramothonath Bosu is responsible for finding iron ore near Jamshedpur and is the man responsible for the beginning of this steel township that we know as Tatanagar today. Anyway, he went to England and studied at Edinburgh University for about 6 years, from 1883 to 1889. Came back home with a DSc degree in chemistry, joined Presidency College. At Presidency College, he could bring up what is later known as a school of chemistry. You see, the beginning of chemistry in India is pioneered by him. It was he and his students who gradually spread all over India to begin chemistry departments in many universities. He remained unmarried, led a life of a sannyasi. He was a teacher, a mentor, a Bengali entrepreneur. You see, he was interested that Bengalis should begin doing a little bit of business on their own. You see, he was against everybody seeking a job or a clerkship in the British government, British run government in those days. He was responsible for beginning of Bengal Chemical in 1890s. He was a great philanthropist. Every year he would take his students for flood relief work and similar relief works. He was a philanthropist, led a very austere life. He would buy dressing material for two people whenever he would buy anything, one for himself and one for his bearer. Let me give you a very popular story about him on his philanthropy. He was at Presidency College between 1889 to 1916. Then in 1916 he left Presidency at the request of Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee and joined Rajabazar Science College. In Rajabazar Science College, he would always have a few poor students whom he would maintain for their upkeeping and studies. On one such day in the morning, he was telling the young man, a young boy who was looking after him in those days, his name was Nodia Jibon. Nodia Jibon bought bananas, and the bananas were very good. He asked how much is the cost. The poor boy said that it's cost 2 annas only. He said, on other days I spend only 5 paisa. How come you have spent 2 annas on it? And then on the same day, at about 11:30, Dr. Prafulla Chandra Ghosh, the future Chief Minister of West Bengal, a Gandhian leader, came and said that for some relief work, they need some money. How much is needed? Acharya asked. He said, maybe about 3,000 will do. Then again, Nodia Jibon was called. The bank passbook was brought in. The passbook showed that he had 3,500 rupees in his savings account. He then and there wrote a check of rupees 3,000 and handed it over to Prafulla Chandra Ghosh. And apart from that, you see, he led a very austere life in a single room in Science College. And as I said, brought up a host of brilliant students. Satyen Bose, Meghnad Shah, Nil Ratan Dhar, Gyan Ghosh, Gyan Mukherjee, you name them, Biresh Guho, and to end up Professor Ashima Chatterjee. They were all prepared by them, and it's the one name that needs a particular mention is Rajshekhar Bosu. We all know him for his literary contribution, but Rajshekhar Bosu was a very accomplished chemist, a student of Prafulla Chandra Rai, and was a manager of Bengal Chemical for many, many years. So this man is not even remembered properly by Bengalis today. His contribution in every field, in science, in literature, in philanthropy, in his homework. You see, he was the man responsible for introducing Mahatma Gandhi to Bengalis. Mahatma Gandhi came to Kolkata in 1901 when nobody particularly knew him well. And it was he who arranged a meeting to be addressed by Mahatma Gandhi at the Albert Hall in College Street, so that he can talk about the problems of Indians in South Africa. So this man was a versatile genius, contributed so much to our national life, and is now almost completely forgotten. It's a great pleasure that the Institute of Pulmocare and Research has introduced an award in his name. And we all know that this year, this particular award is being delivered to Professor Devotosh Guho, who will be giving us a talk on igniting innovations in young mind. And I have great pleasure in conferring the award to Professor Devotosh Guho. Over to you, Partho.
Thank you, Dhimanda. I take the advantage of calling you Dada, and I congratulate all our listeners that you have compensated the absence of Dr. Balaram to a large extent. I don't know how far, but it's been wonderful to listen to you. Now it is my pleasant duty to introduce Dr. Devotosh Guho to all of you. Dr. Guho is a BTech, MTech, PhD from Kolkata University itself. He is now a professor in the Department of Radio Physics and Electronics, and he has been in this department since 1994, where he joined as an assistant professor. He had a brief attachment abroad at Royal Military College of Canada, Kingston, Ontario, for 2 years. Professor Guha is an antenna expert. I just compare antenna with our receptors. So outer world has the different universe. Our body is a different universe. In our body, there are several kinds of receptors. And without receptors, our body has got no meaning, because we can't access the signals. So he is an expert, international expert in antenna. His field of research is new mode and configuration technologies for hybrid and composite dielectric resonator antennas, defected ground structure, and advanced planar antennas. His research is in developing microstrips and low-profile dielectric resonator antennas that has brought him a huge respect and recognition globally. So these are all difficult words for us, but definitely these are great things. And he has published over 200 papers, mostly in high-impact journals, and published a book also named Microstrip and Printed Antennas, New Trends, Techniques, and Applications in 2011. He is not just a theoretical scientist. He's developed a novel antenna, has been in use in as a commercial product in North American wireless industry today. He went on receiving several awards from a student's life itself, and has a big list of laurels to his credit. That includes a fellowship of the Indian National Academy of Engineering, National Academy of Science, IEEE, and many more. He is also an Abdul Kalam Technology Innovation National Fellow. He has acted in many international committees and many international societies across the globe. He is a good organizer. His conference has been attended globally and been praised globally. He is nowadays regarded as one of the global expert in ultra wideband antennas also. So it is my great pleasure to pronounce that the Institute of Pulmocare and Research feels very proud and delighted to confer this prestigious award to him. May I request Dr. Ganguly to confer it to Professor Guho.
I have great pleasure in asking Professor Devotosh Guho to deliver his talk and confer the award in the name of Acharya Prafulla Chandra Rai. Over to you, Professor Guho.
Well, thank you. Thank you, sir, for your kind words, and Dr. Bhattacharya for your very long introduction. So I'm really honored and happy to accept with all humility this award, and I'm very, very pleased to share this accomplishment, this award, with a big group of students who have been working with me for the last 2 decades. And it is a triple delight for me. So one is the name of the award. It is after the name of Acharya Prafulla Chandra Ray. And secondly, it is today from the hand of Dr. Dhiman Ganguly, and renowned doctor and educator of this country. And thirdly, for having this wonderful occasion to meet you, to have you as our new friend, and especially with Dr. Bhattacharya to be associated with you, newly introduced with you. So thank you very much.
It's our pleasure. In fact, your big biodata has been cut short by me. It is too long. So now it is my pleasure to request you to give your talks.
Okay, so with your kind permission, I'm starting sharing my screen.
Sure.
So should I keep my sharing screen only and video also? Is my video visible along with my presentation?
Yeah.
Yes, we can see you.
We can see you.
Okay.
Or whichever you may.
So Partha, I need to share the screen. So you'll have to. You'll have to manage from your side.
No, you just share it.
Excellent. So I'm going to share it. And it is unfortunate that Professor Balaram is not present today, but I was a bit scared because it would be difficult for me to talk after Professor Balaram. I have heard his lectures in several occasions. He's an outstanding orator. And there's no question of his capacity in his own field. So anyway, I'm trying to do my best from my side. And the participants today, probably a mixed audience. And Dr. Bhattacharya can tell how many participants right now in the audience.
Right now, you have 84 participants.
And most of them are medicine doctors, right?
Could be, likely.
Likely, okay. So friends, this title was given by Dr. Bhattacharya, Igniting Innovations in Young Minds. So based on that, I have prepared this talk, and I'll tell you the total configuration. The term innovation, so nowadays it is not a big deal to go to Google and check the meaning of any word. So when I started presenting this, my presentation, the innovation, oh my God, so diverse interpretation and words you will get. So it is difficult to concretize that what does it actually mean, innovation. So then what I did, I clicked this image icon on Google search. That helped me a lot. You look at this diagram. So I have taken two representative pictures, which are representing innovation. These two. So now it is easy to understand. It is going to tell that it is something related to mind and handshaking with your ideas. So mind and ideas, when they come together, probably then innovation takes place. So innovation, there are two statements I'm making, and I'm going to justify these two statements through this presentation. The innovation takes place not by knowledge only. No. A man can have huge knowledge but zero innovation. Rather, it is the outcome of the state of mind where knowledge can have important role, may not have. But state of mind is very important in innovation. And what kinds of innovation? There are different types. Hopefully, I will try to touch all these kinds. One is by chance. So any mind can be ignited by chance, by careful observation. That is very important for innovation, the very careful observation. That means your mind is partially prepared. It is not by chance. Or from observation, you have prepared your mind for new findings, new innovation. Inquisitive investigation, that is the very focused and prolonged investigation, and then the outcome is innovation. Yes, that is also possible. And another is addressing challenges. So somebody asked you that this is my challenge, and it is now, you try whether you can resolve it, and through this resolution or through this solution, you can find new innovated idea or newly innovated idea. Let's go back 1820. Professor Ganguly nicely portrayed our Bengal scenario in 19th century. So I will touch 1820 first, and there is some relations I'm going to explain in a minute. A mindful observation in 1820, and that was by this professor, Hans Oersted, led to a chain of innovations within few years of time, which changed the present civilization. Yes, you just take it. This chain of innovations actually changed the present civilization. And this year, which is a beautiful connection with 1820. 1820 is the birth year of, in Bengal, Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. So it is just 200 years. The global electrical engineers, they're celebrating the bicentenary year of Oersted discovery. So my first part of this presentation, I will try to focus on that part, the chain of innovations in starting in 1820. And the later part, I will touch a little bit of my personal experience. His home. We need to know the global scenario at that time. Oersted was located in Denmark, in the northern part of Europe, and he was a professor at Copenhagen University. His statue is in two places. One is birthplace, another is place of death, place of demise, Copenhagen itself. So what did he do? In April 1820, when Oersted was 43, so mind and young mind, I don't know, how do I differentiate the mind and young mind? So any mind may be young mind if it is active mind. So at 43, I think the mind was very young, and suddenly he observed, he followed, and there is some controversy that whether he observed it very suddenly or he observed for prolonged time and then he demonstrated his experiment. And one day he experimentally showed his observation, that is magnetic effect of electric current. So you try to see from this animated image that one magnetic needle or compass is deflected when we touch this wire. That means it is connected to battery. Well, you can do anyone you can do this experiment using just one AA battery, one simple wire, and you take one compass nearby, then you can find this magnetic effect of electric current. So now you see how interesting it is. From April to July, he tried extensively to find out some mathematical formulation or some scientific reasoning behind this, and ultimately he failed. So unfortunate ending of Oersted works. Oersted did not do any work after that. So only for that observation and that innovation, even after 200 years, we remember this great discovery. In July 1822, he just published one single, like one A4 size paper. He described his observation or discovery in the form of a pamphlet, and he distributed amongst his friends, students, colleagues, and that was the end. He did not continue any work. What happened after that? September 1820, so July to September, August, September, just 2 months it took. The pamphlet somehow came from Denmark to France through some friends or some communication happened, and one mind was ready. He was Ampere. André Marie Ampere, one physicist. He was sitting in France, and as per this document, on 11th September, Ampere heard about Oersted discovery, and Ampere was 45. So another beautiful mind. And he just took 7 or 8 days. And within that 7 days, he completed his work and presented a paper to an academy. I could not find out the name of the academy. And he completed the Oersted undone work, and he showed this beautiful law of nature, that if you have one metallic conductor, if it is carrying current, then the magnetic field is symmetrically and circularly surrounding, that is the red arrows. So the field is working like this. So it is Ampere's circuital law. Interestingly, Ampere could have done many more works, starting from his own discovery or own formulation. But mind is different. You see, he had all requisite knowledge. He's the beginner of this thing, but he did not proceed it further. The next step indeed needed actually a new mind. What's that? So you just look at this diagram. It is one coil, that is an electrical wire in the form of a coil. What does it produce? Nowadays, it is very simple to us that it is actually producing this type of device. Hopefully you do understand what is that. It is simple electromagnet. That is, one magnet is prepared or created just by winding a wire and connecting it at two ends of a battery. No, Ampere did not do any work, and we had to wait 5 years after that. This British scientist, William Sturgeon, he developed electromagnet in 1825. Probably it is the strongest component in electrical engineering, and that I'm going to show you, so you'll appreciate that. But interestingly, Sturgeon developed it. His mind worked. He developed it was his structure. He found that such a beautiful electromagnet is possible to be created, but that's the end. (1825). Europe was vibrant that time. So electromagnet for automation. Hopefully you can understand what is shown on right hand side, on top corner. It is a simple electric motor. So one steady magnetic field and another is one electromagnet which can interact with this magnetic field, and that is the principle of our motor. We had to wait for another bright and young scientist of Hungary, an Hungarian physicist, Jedlik. He was very young, at 28. He innovated electric motor. And his motor, you can see even today, if you go to Budapest, the museum, the National Museum of Budapest, there it is kept. Interestingly, you look at this, the central part is just a coil, and it is rotating, and this is the replacement of this permanent magnet. So he also created the magnetic field using another electromagnet. (1825 to 28). We had to wait for 3 years just to find one application, and that is the first automation of this new civilization. That is, automatically something started rotating. Electromagnet and a different concept. So now you just see that human mind is very peculiar. When in the European side, the people are trying to develop their engineering, automation, first electromagnet, automation. Parallelly, a poor and young guy sitting in New York City, Joseph Henry, he was also playing with electromagnet. He was very poor, and he could not complete his education even. So this bell, that was in his mind. And this type of bell you can see in the church. And when you need to ring the bell, you need big hammer to push it or pull it. Or mechanically you need to pull it by your hand. He proposed to church authority that, sir, if you agree, I can give you one electrically operated bell. And excellently, he built one beautiful, powerful magnet. And I am showing this picture. It is still available. You can see in Washington, D.C., Smithsonian Museum, the first magnet he built to pull this bell. he earned good amount of money. So electromagnet actually survived one's life, and he worked with this bell, but the mind is mind, and you cannot stop a mind to work. So parallelly, he tried a different thing. You look at here. Hopefully you can understand the purpose of this type of device. It is a mechanical calling bell. If you are in the upstairs, or if you are at a distant location, so this mechanical rope or by pulling technique, you can ring the bell to call someone's attention or create someone's attention. So his mind was very alive and active. So Henry made a marvel in 1831, and you will be surprised to see what he did actually. He invited some of his friends for an evening refreshment. And he was sitting in a different room, the adjacent room, suppose. And he kept his instrument in between. So hopefully you do understand what is this. He used this electromagnet, and when he connected this electromagnet, it started ringing. This is actually a doorbell, the mechanism of a doorbell. So he told his friends that, well, I'm sitting here. You will see when I call you, there will be some sound. And if you get some sound, I will send this electrical message. Immediately you should come to my room. So suddenly all his friends came to his room and they told, well, did you call me? So he told, yes, I called you. And that is the first electrical message from one room to another room. So hopefully you do understand what I'm going to mean. That is the birth of electrical communication in the form of telegraphy. Many new generation participants are here, so they did not chance to see the telegraph machine. Actually, the telegraph machine or telegraphy is the first electrical communication to communicate distantly with your friends, with your family, from city to city. And what was the machine? The machine is nothing but just small signals were transferred from one city to another city. At the receiving end, there was a electromagnet, and this magnet used to operate on hammer or something like that to print some marks. And this marks means make and break, dot and dash type of signal. So these codes are nothing but some alphabets. So telegraphic messages used to use that time for communication, and that actually the first taste of electrical communication the whole world got. And it is not a very, very long time after 1831. I think it is 1845. The first telegraph line started working between two cities. One is Washington, D.C., another is Baltimore. So that is the beginning of communication. And those days, during our childhood, we used to see this type of telegraph machine on the table of a postmaster or any post office personnel. So this is the small machine. So electrical communication actually started. And now we see in the present situation of pandemic, we all are surviving in the virtual world, and that is due to communication. So innovation occurs in steps. So I will try to give you the test of the full band of your communication today. Now you don't like this telegraph. Telegraph is no more. Telephony, traditional telephony is no more. So we all prefer now talking wireless. The same year, 1831, probably I need not to describe anything. The same year, Michael Faraday. Of all persons, we had to depend on a chemist. Michael Faraday was a chemist in Davis lab, you know. And he used to work for chemistry, mainly for chemical industries. I had to read his personal communications and letters, and I saw in 1831, March and April, he wrote a number of letters to the industry that I'm not interested to continue work with them. So please excuse me. And his biographer, the main biography, it was written by his close friend. I cannot remember the name, probably Brown or someone is a British. So he's writing that Faraday actually worked with 2 solenoids. It was his device. 10 weeks. So approximate time is June, July, August. And the final day of discovery, as per the record, is 29th of August. And he gave real effort for 10 days. And you know this electromagnetic induction, that is, if we move some electric field near a closed circuit, electromagnetic force or EMF or current or voltage is generated. And actually, that is the greatest, I should say, it is the greatest discovery of this whole civilization, because that gave us electricity. So without electricity, we cannot think anything, any progress, any industry, any automation, any movement, any wireless, nothing. So that generation of power is basically based on this this major discovery in 1831. Now you can recognize these 2. One is Ampere, another is Faraday. Ampere gave us electromagnet. Based on electromagnet, a series of innovations took place. We got automation. Faraday, just in one click, he gave us the test of generation of power, the electrical power generation. Actually, that is the general concept, general perception, but it is not true. Hopefully you can identify the person. He was James Clerk Maxwell. He was Scottish, born in Scotland. In 1831, the year Joseph Henry and Faraday did their major works. Maxwell, he did not look at the problem of Ampere and Faraday in their face value. And that's why he thought a different way. Let there be a wave. Maxwell was just 25. He was just 25, and he was a bit unrest because he could not understand one meaning, and that's why he wrote his first paper in 1856, 1831 to 1856. It is exactly 25 years of age, on Faraday's lines of force. Actually, when Faraday did his work, he repeatedly used the term that is magnetic lines of force. And based on magnetic lines of force, he explained his whole experiment. Maxwell tried to understand Faraday's lines of force. He waited for another 4 years. He wrote his second paper, that is the most vital paper, in 1861, on physical lines of force. You see the transformation. That is the inquisitive investigation. I mentioned that. One after another, he's trying to investigate and understand. And the last paper he wrote, 1864, the dynamical theory of electromagnetic field. It is a 54-page paper. It is available. It is in English. Anyone can read it. But it is really, even today, it is difficult to understand what he tried to tell that time. It is full of mathematics, and all these mathematics are not very understandable even today. But it is the greatest example of inquisitive innovation. What happened, the 64, it is not the end, because it is just the proposition of two things. He told that if we have proper electric and magnetic field in proper condition, then electromagnetic wave will be generated. That is the prediction of our wireless world today. Interestingly, he lived up to 1879, but he could not prove it experimentally. You don't think that he was just theoretician? Maxwell was outstanding experimentalist, and he's also famous for his wonderful experiment of color photography. And he's the father of color photography. What happened actually? Actually, his mind was based on that theoretical work. Is it true? It is very difficult to tell now, because the challenge to make wave visible, that was the main challenge. Actually, when Maxwell died in 1879, von Helmholtz, he was in Berlin. Helmholtz took initiative and he announced one prize on behalf of Prussian Academy in 1879. That is called Berlin Prize, the famous Berlin Prize. And Berlin Prize was declared that you please come forward and prove Maxwell's prediction. Simple as it is, that Maxwell's prediction is this, you need to prove it experimentally. 79 to 87, we had to wait. And the German professor, young German professor, Heinrich Hertz, he was around 29 that time. Hertz actually solved this problem after 8 years of Maxwell's demise. So this is one very interesting and very technical part, and it needs more discussions. I'm not going to that one. But Hertz made it, and he did his experiment in here. It is in Karlsruhe, in Germany. He was a professor in Karlsruhe, young professor, and it was his laboratory. And this photograph I took in probably 2014. I visited just to see this one. And in this building and in this top floor, Hertz made his first experiment. And through this experiment, he proved electromagnetic waves successfully propagates from one point of his room to another point of his room. And from Karlsruhe, I had to go to Munich just to see his original instrument that is kept in Deutsches Museum. And here his first antenna, actually that is the most crucial part of propagation of electromagnetic wave or wireless, that is the radio or wireless discovery, and that was by this antenna there. So now we think that Maxwell, he's the father of electromagnetic field, but he was not able to solve the problem experimentally. Exactly, in 87, Heinrich Hertz was just 30 years. So he had to depend on another mind, and that mind came forward with his new innovative mind, new innovation, and new process of new process, new thoughts, new approach. So their work, that is Hertz and Maxwell's work, changed the world. It is now present world. It looks like this. Everywhere, every time people are connected. They don't care of wires. The virtual world is like this. Probably this is the symbol of clouds, cloud computing. So maybe pandemic, maybe your regular life. Now we cannot ignore this virtual world. So we are always connected through wireless. But what is this? The heart of this wireless, modern wireless. One is the microelectronics. I'm not going to that part. I'm trying to focus the part already Parthoda mentioned about my small works on antennas. So it is actually the new generation antennas. Now you think of every one of us, we are using either one phone or multiple phones along with computers, and each device carries not a single, multiple antennas within it. And you can think of their dimensions. Actually, that is the area of my research. It is the actual topology or the structural part of this antenna. I'm giving you some examples of what you use every day. So do you know what is this? It is just one simple antenna or microstrip antenna. It is like a biscuit or even thinner than a biscuit. And its physical size varies from, you can guess, from the size of the device because it is fitted in your device. This particular antenna you use in your GPS receiver. Okay. So this type of printed antenna in different forms. So one example is defense radar. It is not a single element. It is an array of microstrip elements. For civil aviation, it is from probably Boeing 700 series. And it carries, as per literature, more than 200 antennas within it. This is one satellite payload-borne antenna that is borne by satellite itself. I'm showing few more for your interest. So most of you are present here, doctors. This is one example of this type of small antenna. It is used in several medical devices connected to different ports. And it is the implantable antenna in one device. I don't know which device it is. And many antennas in your pocket or on your table. It is a mobile handset. Several antennas have been deployed over here. You are using wireless dongle every day. So this is the antenna, printed antenna here, and RFID tag. You are familiar with the RFID tag, RFID detectors nowadays. So these all are very thin, very sleek, and very challenging antennas. So let me tell you my experience. A small story. This paper, I'm not going to tell about any technical thing. I'm telling about my experience in the form of a story. This paper was published in 1999 January, but it came to my notice in 2002, 2003, I remember. It was on Japanese group. So normally during learning any subject, we need to read it carefully, and sometimes the same paper, same article repeatedly to understand its inner meaning. So I was doing the same thing with this antenna, with this paper of Hori and Susumi, very new work. And I found one diagram they're giving. I'm telling you about little bit about the diagram. The hazy part, what you are seeing, that is actually the small antenna. One example I already showed. And the small holes, it is looking like this round figures. It is on the other side of the board. So it is the two sides of the board. So one side contains antenna, the other side is the ground plane, or it is the bearing these holes. After reading it few times, I was not satisfied with the justification of these holes they used just beneath this element, radiating element. So I did not like it. I did not understand it. So I tried to understand, but I could not find any reason. Then one idea came to my mind that, well, the antenna is like our strong medicine. Why do I tell? Because it is our experience, not as a doctor, but as a patient, that when we take some medicines, many medicines are suffering from some issues of reaction. So definitely the medicine is going to act, and definitely it has some issues and unwanted reactions, right? So antenna, when it is made for radiation or radiating purpose, there is some inherent issue of some unwanted radiation. And since they're polarized in a different direction, it's called polarized radiations. So I try with this defect. So it is one hand-drawn diagram I got from my student. He was sharing with me. So I took only two defects and I conjectured the structure in a different way, that, well, the action will be there, but the reaction will be minimized. So I built this antenna, and based on some very gross calculation, because the thorough analysis of this type of structure is very difficult. The problem was that by that time, it is 2004 June, I remember, by that time I had the assignment and I had to leave India. So I carried these two pieces of structures with me. They're very handy. So I took it to Canada with a big suspense that, well, I'm taking this antenna, but I don't know whether it's going to work or not. And actually I had no clue. It is absolutely out of scratch, and no one tried it earlier. No one thought of this happening. Okay. So summer to fall, I had to wait up to fall. And this gentleman helped me. He is a technician. CRC is the Communication Research Center. This is located at Ottawa. It is a government lab. And David Lee, he visited our lab. Actually, my workplace was different. It was about 150 kilometers from Ottawa. The picturesque city, and it is probably one of the most beautiful campuses in North America. That was my university campus, surrounded by Lake Ontario and two rivers. And that is the part of the city where I used to live. So anyway, so when I was working over there, the David came, and I told him, David, I need this experiment, and I need very, very precise experimentation. So David took it from me, and just after a few days, he sent me these results. Now you see, I'm just showing the results, and really I was surprised to see that what I expected, at least more than 60 or 70% success I got just by some hand-drawn calculation. So I was so happy and immediately tried to report it, and it was reported to one top journal in our field, an IEEE journal. Actually, it was 2005, and I realized that it created huge interest, and different groups in different parts of the world were trying to develop something new out of that. So our group was also active. I came back to India, and definitely my students joined to work, and they did many works. After 5 to 6 years time, I realized I got one communication from this institute, NCAR. It is American Institute, National Center for Atmospheric Research, Boulder. From their communication, I first realized that it is of huge interest, and they are going to use it for their own applications. So they communicated with me and my students, and tried to understand the physics, and they tried to develop new generation radar for airborne radar, atmospheric radar. I just mentioned about the beauty of the structure I developed, that it used to use no extra element, no added component, no cost, and very lightweight. That was missing in other available techniques. So spaceborne and airborne people are always very careful about even a gram of their weight. So they're very happy with this. Even later on, I heard that, and I interacted with this group also, that in our own ISRO, they're also developing this structure in the similar way for their own purpose. And I realized within few years that 3 books came in successive years, almost successive years, and they dedicated chapters on this new type of technology, that is reflected ground structure for antenna application, which was absolutely nil in 2005 when I just wrote my paper. That was the first ignition probably. And yesterday or day before yesterday, when I was preparing my slide, I went to Google and gave DGS in antenna, and I was surprised to see it shows 7,17,000 results altogether. So it indicates the impact, and the technological developments took place starting from 2005, the last 15 years of time. A different story, and this is my concluding part. I won't take much time. That is problem and solution. So one beautiful experience I had, and you'll enjoy. That is there is forced innovation, and I learned many things from this peculiar situation. Actually, I was sitting almost before I left my Canadian assignment from Kingston. So I was working on my desk. So one email came, and it came via my advisor. The mail from Spotwave. Spotwave is actually in Canadian industry for wireless, and they are building base stations. Okay. So in their mail, they sent a list of requirements, and they are proposing that whether we are interested to execute this project, because it is a big problem for them. So they want to solve this problem quickly. And well, so I'm showing their demand, the crazy demand they did, and I'm explaining it in a non-technical way. So they demanded, suppose you have a bucket. People definitely don't like big bucket. They wanted one slick bucket, no, that is not sufficient. They required something very handy, very small, very attractive, but they demanded more volume of water in the same bucket in a compact shape. Is it really possible? It was very difficult task, and I translate this demand in antenna domain. Actually, they wanted a new antenna for their base station purpose and portable base station purpose of very high gain and large bandwidth. So normally what is possible from an antenna of that size, that volume, they demanded just double the gain with enlarged bandwidth. The problem happened, the existing knowledge, existing concept tells that you cannot handle both together. And once you want to increase one, the other one will go down. So my advisor told, okay, don't waste your time. So whatever you want to tell, you tell them, and stop this game. I just thought that the game has not yet been started. So before that, if I leave the ground, so there is no chance to win. So let's see. So I bought 1 week time from him. So I spent 1 week and gave all types of efforts what I could do that time. Just after 1 week, it was a big smile and my bucket became ready. So my antenna was ready and my boss became happy. So we wrote to the industry. Interestingly, the industry people just kept quiet. We are a bit surprised that normally the industry people are very smart and they try to answer immediately whenever the problem is from their end. Oh, within next 7 days, suddenly I received a call from their CEO, Mike Roper. I still remember his name. He's a very tall guy. So Mike called and he called me that, well, so we are waiting. And why? What for? I sent my results almost a week ago. No, we had some other things to do. And what did you do? He told that we sent this offer to 6 universities and 5 universities have returned their proposal or results. So out of 5, we have chosen yours. So that is the first hope. And then I personally worked with this industry, and finally we took a few more months to finally develop the product. So finally in North America, you can go to Google even today. So you can click SpotWave, and SpotWave some repeater antenna. You can see this diagram. So by doing this thing, I learned one thing that is very important, that don't rely on what is written in black and white always. So always apply your mind and take the challenge. And before taking challenge, it is very difficult to say whether it will happen or not. So anyway, so some part is the historical part and some part is my part. I told you the success stories only, but not the failures. A lot of failures are behind. So it is a mixed reaction. It is a mixed experience in doing research and in surviving in the field of research. And I'm very honored and happy today to accept your honor, your award with all humility, and I share it with my big group of students. They have been working with me, and it is, I should say, it is their credit to develop this different types of antennas for real practical applications. Thank you all.
Well, very important talk for all of us, and we are all grateful to Professor Guho for keeping us listening to him. This is something which none of us have any idea about, but the credit goes to him that could make uninitiated people like us to get interested this kind of innovative ideas in antenna development. So on the behalf of on my personal behalf and on behalf of Institute Pulmocon, many thanks to Dr. Guho. It was great pleasure. It's unfortunate we could meet personally, but hopefully sometime in future we'll get a chance to meet personally. Over to you, Partho. We'll go for inauguration, shall we?
Yeah, Himanda, after this illuminating talk, we'll go for a brief inaugurations. Let me come to my slides. Well, yeah. Let me back to the slide.
I'm trying to get out of my presentation.
No, it's okay.
Can you do it?
Yeah.
Should I do?
No,
yeah. Right. So, yeah, fine.
Now, as a ritual, you are my guest of honor in the inauguration occasion.
Thank you.
So,
thank you, Vasudha.
And let us join together to inaugurate. And after this lighting of the lamp, we will have a very brief presentation from each of us. So let this light be. So let us be back on our podium as an organizing secretary of the Institute of the Pulmocon and a member of the Institute of Pulmocon Research. It is my immense pleasure to welcome you all once again to this conference. In the last 20 years, we have been trying honestly in our limited capacity to serve our purpose. We do not know how far we have been able to, but it is a pleasure working. And in that course, I'm grateful to my governing council for their constant inspiration. I'm grateful to my scientific committee for guiding me, to my academic council for reviewing me, and to all of you, my patients, my fellows, my well-wishers, my co-workers, to try together to what all we are doing today. In this COVID world, we are again facing a different challenge altogether. The whole thing is upside down. And frankly, we are also giving a good thought on COVID. We are trying to come out with some kind of practical advice for COVID. We have a manuscript in one of the journal's editorial desk, and we hope that it will be soon published. And we expect that it will help to change the COVID scenario of the country. I wish you all to bless us so that we can go ahead. And I wish your blessings will continue for the Institute and for this conference. With this, I want to conclude my inaugural talk in this conference. May I request Dr. Devotosh Guho to say a few words in the inaugural occasion.
Well, honorable delegates, President, Secretary, and friends. It is really a different taste altogether for me to join this conference, particularly to receive an award from the institute, and finally to address you on the occasion of the inauguration. Personally, I've been associated with several areas of organizations in our field, and we need to organize, we need to join different conferences. So it is one of them. And the conference becomes, it is my personal view that a conference becomes successful. A conference becomes successful to a participant when in the next conference we come with some new inputs, ideas, and views. Or we leave a conference with some new thoughts, new ideas, new impetus, new challenges. So conference gives us that scope, always that scope. Unfortunately, in COVID situation, pandemic situation, we had to stop our own conference that was planned in Kolkata in Hyatt Regency in December. But I must say I should give very, very big hand and credit to this organizer that you have shown courage to organize it online. It's really a big challenge. So when you are physical, the tasks become very easy to manage, to organize. So now everyone is in different place. But hopefully, this organization and this conference will continue with their goal, their mission and vision. And just now I completed my talk, so I'm not going to continue much, but I hope to join physically with you in the next year. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Goy. It's our pleasure. And thank you for your very kind words. So may I request our organizing president, Dr. Dhiman Ganguly, to address the audience and finally make the valedictory remarks. And before I request him to come, I have a small announcement. On next Sunday at 7 p.m., we have a COVID session where we have tried to see COVID from a different perspective. And that perspective is partly radiological understanding, partly home treatment of COVID, which is an important issue, where an expert on infectious disease will tell us how to treat COVID at home, how far, how much, and to which extent. And also a part will be dedicated for prevention of COVID, a new aspect of chemoprevention. So with this, I want to hand over the mic to Dr. Dhiman Ganguly.
Thank you, Pablo. It's been a pleasure for me to remain associated with Pulmocons for the last 8 years. I have seen it grow from a tiny meeting in a small hall 18 years ago to a much awaited meeting for all of India over the last 18 years. This year, of course, because of this situation, we are not meeting personally, but I am sure there are doctors around India in different parts of India who eagerly wait for Pulmocon. So it's a great success for Institute of Pulmocare. And as for me, I have enjoyed joining each of these 18 meetings for the last 18 years. I enjoyed the content, the communications, and the discussions that is a part of Pulmon every year. And I'm sure this year also, in spite of all these difficulties, each Sunday for the next 2 months or so, 2 or 3 months, we will have a feast of academic discussions on different topics on the Sunday evenings. It is a great, what shall I say, organizational power of the institute and its director, that this thing can actually is getting organized. It's not easy to involve people from all over India every Sunday evening over a period of 2 to 3 months to carry on a Pulmocon that used to take place in 3 days, usually over a weekend. So we will see how things go. This has never been done before. So hopefully this year also we will succeed in getting an interested audience and good presenters about problems in pulmonology. And it's an additional pleasure to have Dr. Devotosh Guho deliver the Prafulla Chandra Rai award oration this year. It was very interesting for all of us to listen to a part of history, how electricity from a theoretical concept has become a technology and changed our life in 21st century. And hopefully we'll hear more about him and his talks in future. It was a slight miss that we couldn't get Dr. Balaram to deliver his lecture. I'm sure this can be arranged in some other Sunday evening as the program goes. On behalf of the Institute of Pulmocare and the staff, director and staff of Institute Pulmocare, I feel it's my pleasant due to offer a vote of thanks to all workers who have been working tirelessly for the last 2 months or so to organize this complicated business of a full conference on a digital platform. So hopefully this is also a good learning experience for all of us, and we'll probably have more of these in near future, because as far as I can see, this COVID menace is not going to leave us too soon. So we might have to do these programs repeatedly on digital platform, and this experience will help us to do better in future. Over to you, Partho.
I have nothing to say but to again express my heartfelt gratitude to all, especially Dr. Guha, who has taken pain and has told us so beautifully. Actually, he has illuminated a lot of things and ignited the interest for innovations. I'm sure in many minds, those are young minds, despite the age of those gentlemen or women. So with this small note, let us end today. We'll meet again in next Sunday at sharp 9 p.m. And I have made the program in multiple such modules. I've tried to make it as interesting as possible with the best possible faculty from the country. I'm trying for a few faculties from abroad as well. Hopefully we'll do better. With this note, I like to finish with a great salute to all of you. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, Partho. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
ক্লোজ করছি।
হ্যাঁ।
ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
থ্যাংক ইউ। আমরা একটু থাকতেই পারি। দেবতোষ গুহ।
হ্যাঁ, আমি আছি। আমি তো